Hi, good evening. It's time for Hold No Bars on this holiday Friday, December the 27th. And I trust all of you had a great Christmas and Boxing Day. I noticed even Boxing Day greetings coming out now with boxes. I thought traditionally Boxing Day was boxing. But let's start Hold No Bars this evening, December 27th. I have on my right, and I think it's your left, Mr. Sridhat Prashad, who is joining me. Sridhat is a relative and overseas base, has been here a few times. Sridhat, say hello to all the good
Hello,
people.
everybody. Nice to meet you all for the first time.
Great. So Sridhat has been here maybe, what, 4 times in his life?
Probably a little more than that. So a few times kid, but times that you can remember are, actually acknowledge things, maybe about, 4.
Okay. So, and I said, let me bring Sridhat on this evening to get a different perspective on Guyana, its politics, its economy, and where it should go. I think he's a young engineer and born in New York. Am I right?
Yes.
Yes. So,
Born and raised in New York.
and what do you do?
I am a project manager for a construction company in New York. We do mostly infrastructure projects for the city, New York City Transit. So
What makes you qualified to talk a little bit about Guyana? You know anything about Guyana?
well, I got a real good education the last few years. My wife is into politics, and I get to hear every day about the ins and outs of Guyana politics and the good, the bad, the ugly, or more the bad, the ugly. And then I started reading articles about different topics or anything going on in Guyana, and then it kind of started talking to people in New York, Guyanese. My parents are Guyanese, they're both from Guyana. So, aunts, uncles, friends, family, almost anybody. You go to Liberty Avenue in Queens and you got opinions left, right, center. So it's around, yeah.
Great. So, viewers, tonight we have Sridhat, who will share some of his views on the program tonight. A question. We had a change of government in 2015.
Yes.
The coalition came in. You're following the politics in Ghana at that time?
Yes, I was. Not as much as I am now, but so the last time or one of the previous times, I think it was like 2010, 2011 where I came in, and the previous government was in power, and I came in, I talked to people, kids between the ages of like 20 to 32, find out what's going on, what they thought about how the country was running, what they thought about the government, and they didn't really have a great opinion of the government. That was the only government they knew because that government was basically in power since the early to mid 90s. So I guess they didn't really know about anything before that, or the times that Guyanese went or had to go through before that. But it's well-warranted things. It's there are issues that jobs, security, corruption. It's just basic things that anywhere. Even in New York, we talk about security. We talk about jobs. We talk about food, how much it costs to get groceries, which is something that was kind of interesting that I learned on this trip. It's a lot. So it's like little things that add up, and people get disgruntled when you can't get a job or a good paying job. Then you got to deal with corruption, and You can't get anywhere, and you hear this a lot. You can't get anywhere unless you know somebody or you can pay the right person, which not right, but that's what goes on. And they don't see any end in sight of that.
2015. The coalition was campaigning all over. They were in New York also. What was the feeling of Guyanese in the diaspora? Well, I shouldn't say Guyanese. What is the feeling of the diaspora in 2015?
So you had splits. So in my own thing and what I saw, so people were fed up with what was going on, right? It was 20, 25 years of the same government doing whatever, people don't seeing any changes. And granted, there were changes that went on, but it wasn't affecting anybody in a positive way. I guess people felt like they were falling backwards. They weren't getting anywhere. People are mass exodus. If they could have got out of Guyana, they'd go. A lot of people in New York were fed up with what was going on. They think the country is going nowhere, and some of them actually thought maybe a change might be good. Not everybody thought that. Some people did. Some people wouldn't trust any of the government. That's, all the big parties. I guess the two big parties.
So now we fast forward. We
Yes.
got the change. What is the mood in the diaspora today?
It's still relatively split. There's a big polarization. I think it's in politics all over. In the States, you got politics. There's a big polarization between Democrats and Republicans. Down here, it's the same thing. I think it's split more along racial lines, which is sad. But people, maybe let's say 80% of the people are going to be diehards for whichever party they're aligned with. Which, like I said, it's a bad thing. It's people not thinking, they're just voting because that's what they voted all the time. So they can get promises left, right, and center. They're probably the party that they love could tell them, well, nothing's going to change. You vote for us, though, but nothing's going to change, and they still vote for them.
That's the 80%.
That's the 80%. And then you got 20% that'll think and change. I think what happened was this last election in 2015 was that 20% shifted because they wanted something different. I don't think they got something different. I think it went sideways, and a majority of those people are thinking again. So what's the options? They can go back to the old party or find somebody else.
So the coalition came in with a lot of expectations.
Yes.
Especially from the diaspora. And today, that expectation or the expectations of the diaspora seem dashed.
Yes and no. I think some of them still, people who are in favor of this government will blame everybody and anybody for what's going on. And true, not true, I mean, that's in the hands of whoever's looking at it. You can look at the same thing and you're going to have 50 different opinions on it. So, I mean, what are you going to do? You just got to lay your case, and hopefully it's a truthful case, and hopefully people can.
What's the view now of the PPP among those who were disenchanted?
I think a lot of them think it's the same government. You have to put a new person in the head, but same people running the show. And people who do not like the previous presidents, or I guess I couldn't remember the person's name who was the last one, which was a disaster. And I think that was one of the big things they made a mistake on, was who they chose. You know, it's them being responsible enough to put people in place who
A
know
young
what they're
person.
doing. I don't know what young.
No, I was
Okay.
saying you as
Okay,
a
sorry.
person being exposed a bit now to our society and being relatively young. How you think a Guyana should progress? Now we have oil, right? And in fact, every single day I think we make $1 million US dollars. They say.
You struck gold, basically. Something that's brand new resource that can make.
Okay,
Tons
hold
of
on.
money.
Let's
Yeah.
take this call
All right.
so we can get people to interact
All
with
right.
you. Hi, good evening.
Good night, Mr. Manzoor.
You're on the air.
Good night.
Good evening.
How are you doing, Mr. Manzoor? Gavin, Chef.
Hey, Chef, what's up? Man, you finally got through, man.
Yeah, I get through. I got a little problem here. I want to people to know what's going on. The 23rd, I go to the council to get a permit to do some barbecue. Every year it's down there, right? And the council direct come to me and stop me to do my barbecue out there with 300 something chicken. They pay $16,000. Okay, she was nice to say, okay, you can't do nothing, environment here with the smoke and stuff like that. I said, okay, okay, that's good.
This is Eccles Ramsburg Council.
Excuse me?
Which council? Eccles Ramsburg?
Upstairs in Regent Street.
In Regent Street. Okay. Yeah.
Like, she comes
Oh,
to
Georgetown
me
City
because
Council.
Afterwards, I moved set away my barbecue stuff and thing, and I sent it away. Other people on the street was doing it. So I go back to them, and when I go to them, she told me that she don't have time to talk to nobody today. And she's busy, she have no time.
That's a town clerk.
Yeah. So it looked like it's a favorism or a racialism or something. You understand? And some other people in the other higher grade rank told me by go put out the thing and walk by use with them here, left she alone go put out the thing. So it looked like it's a confusion in there and corrupted.
That's the Georgetown City Council, right?
Yeah.
Boy, I tell you, whoever you put in there is somehow some bug bites them.
Yeah, because there was an officer too was doing barbecue out there at Big Market too. I know him. You understand? So I watch the whole system, and I said, this thing I'm going nice at all in this country anymore because it's favorism is going at some.
Okay, Chef.
Okay.
I hope you get your barbecue stand out for the New Year's. A lot of people will be hungry, right? All the best.
Okay.
Take care, man. Okay, Gav.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Chef. Great. So, yes, we were talking about where you think Guyana should go. I know every time I drive around with you, you have an opinion on every single thing. And I think the last we were driving down to Diamond, and I made comments. I said, well, you see, it's, the roads, and we were using Donald Trump S word to describe the country, you know. So there is a view that people want to see that we move, even before we had oil.
Yeah.
That we can do something to make our environment better, our country better, our country able to retain and skill people better, and so forth, right? But so we were having the conversation. I said, let me put you out on it because you have a lot of how you see Guyana.
Yeah. Well, it's a.
And what we should do to address some of these issues.
So it's a third world country, you know, and I've talked to a few people over Christmas and stuff who's harping the same thing all the time. Third world country, but it doesn't have to be. And oil just gives it a much bigger, or makes it an easier path to get out of that hole.
Okay, let's take this one.
Yeah.
Oh, he couldn't wait, or she couldn't wait. Right. Lots we have to do, and today I was reading that Guyana, among 5 Caribbean countries, they say we came out as being the most corrupt. Right?
That's not a surprise. You know, sorry. You know, it's
I
like,
think Barbados came out as the country with the most favorable rating in terms of the corruption index. Leave that aside.
yeah.
Guyana has a little blessing now with some extra money coming in.
Yes.
Right. Let's say you were president of Guyana. What do you think would be some of the first things to do?
Oh, so we've talked about this. So my first two things would be, big pillars would be security and corruption, and then the third one would be infrastructure. So your biggest problem in terms of people coming back is lack of security. Security, police, just every day people going about their business, not having to worry about being robbed, you know, getting killed because they're carrying around some money or something like that. And it's a huge deal. You won't get a lot of foreign investment if there's no security, basically. You know, I've talked to people and be like, oh, well, they'd come here. The problem is they got to worry. You know, if they're bringing their families, so some of them don't even bother bringing their families. They don't want to be dealing with that. The other ones, they're going to have security companies come in with them to
Okay,
take
let's
care
get
of
this
themselves.
going.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, good evening. You're on the air. Hello? You're on. Hi, good evening. Go ahead. Go ahead. We're hearing you. We're not, sorry, we're not hearing you. Okay. Problem with that call. Good. So security is number one.
Yes.
Right? But I want to challenge you.
Okay.
The Congo, Kabila,
Mm-hmm.
when you have revolutions, you must have security issues. And when Kabila took over, I remember reading about in the Congo, immediately all of the diamond companies were lined up waiting to meet with him, right? Because there's money to be made.
Yes.
So if there's a lot of money to be made, especially easy money, I don't think security becomes an issue for investment.
Well, so those diamond companies came in with what? They came with their money, they came with their investments, and they came with their own security people.
Mm-hmm.
So they're taking care of security for their people. You know, all the internationals that come in, they're going to have private security with them, running around, doing whatever it takes to keep their people safe. If something happens, you know, those people are either in an embassy or out of the country with their security forces.
Because for me, the big issue is, first, security for the citizens.
Oh yes, and that's where it is. If your citizens feel safe, then a lot more can get done. They feel safer to go about their business, right? You get more commerce coming in. If companies see, well, these guys are safe, they don't need to spend money on security because they're confident that their people will be safe. Yeah, they'll still have their own some kind of security forces, but not as robust. They're not spending as much money on that. They could be spending money on other things inside the country. But your biggest thing is to keep people, your own people safe. One of the big things in New York City, right, in the 70s, where it was absolute hell. You know, people wouldn't go out. They wouldn't go to Times Square. You know, back in the 70s, 80s, in the mid-90s, they cleaned all that stuff up. Now, Times Square is one of the biggest tourist attractions in the world. Why? Because it's safe to go there. Well, for the most part, you know. But that was the whole thing, is, you know, Giuliani and Bloomberg basically was to clean up New York and get things going where people felt safe to go about. And that's basically what happened. You know, New York City is thriving because of all that.
Corruption was the second thing you tackled.
Yes, corruption is one of the biggest problems also. You can't get anything done if you're not paying people off. So who does that serve exactly? You're only serving your 1% here, right? The common person can't get served by, you know, corruption because they have nothing to give. So if I want something done, and I'm going to come to you because you're a minister or something. Like, well, I need this done. How am I going to get it done? You know? Oh, you go talk to this guy, give this guy something. You know, some person who needs help, really needs help, they're going to go to their politician and they're going to ask him for help, and these people, they don't have anything, so it's like, oh, well, they'll give them a one-liner and send them on their way. So who does that really help? You know?
Big corruption is an issue not so easily dealt with.
It's not so easily
what
dealt
do you
with.
think could be solutions?
So corruption needs to be handled from the top down, right? I mean, there's corruption every which way, right?
Let me interrupt you.
Yeah.
David Arthur Granger, when he swore in as president,
Yeah.
he said, look, I have to pay my ministers well. So gave a 50% increase in the salaries of ministers because he says, I want them to be incorruptible, so I'm paying them well.
How's that worked?
I'm not going to tell you who is corrupt and who is not. But I think for the average Guyanese.
So let's go with not who, but you could go with numbers, percentages. So let's just say previous.
But I think if you ask most Guyanese, they would feel that it hasn't worked.
Okay, and that's probably true. So what's the next step then? It's self-policing. It's getting so. Your president now did something. He gave them a raise, but what were the strings attached to that raise? Were there strings attached to that raise? I doubt it. It's here's your 50% and go do what you got to do. You know, what one of my things was that you can give people a raise, but there has to be strings attached to this stuff. So, you know what? You're a minister, you get your 50% raise, but you can't take any more bribes. You can't do this, you can't do handouts. You have to play by the rules, whatever the laws and everything are, right? On top of that, there needs to be a watchdog group that enforces this, where it's not the president going, oh, well, this guy's no, or people complaining to the president, this guy's no good. So how does that work? You know, let's just say they pull up one of the ministers because they're accused of taking bribes, right? You know, you got to prove that, though. You know, I can say, me and you can go and say, oh, this person's corrupt, this person's no good.
So corruption was the second one.
Yeah.
Third, you mentioned security, corruption, and I forgot.
Infrastructure.
Infrastructure.
So I'm in engineering and construction. So we come from the airport last week, and yeah, roads aren't that great. You know? Potholes. You know, I think a ride that should take maybe 20 minutes takes about an hour.
Well, 20 minutes is about 25 miles, and if we have to drive at 60 miles an hour, then it would be just over half an hour, right?
Yeah.
To get here. So
you're doubling the amount of time. And this was on a Saturday morning.
Sunday morning?
Sunday morning, sorry. It was quiet. It was us and the president coming back from church, right? Those on the road.
Yes.
And a couple trucks with lumber, and I mean, so, yeah, it's a little thing. So that
or maybe it was your driver.
Well, then you got to take it up with my driver.
Yes.
I'm sorry. No. So let's put it this way. This was a Sunday morning, right? So during the week, people are driving, you know, how many more cars are on the road, right? We were able to dodge potholes and dodge those, what do you call them, vans? The buses. But on a rush hour day, you call it, during the week, Monday to Friday, can you really do all that? I mean, how many accidents you have because of bad roads? At one stage, we used to say all Guyanese drivers have PhDs because they are pothole dodgers. Right.
So infrastructure
Uh-huh.
is the next one.
Roads is your big thing. That's number one. It helps your economy also. People are easier. It's easier for people to get around. You got to get rid of those godforsaken speed bumps. As it doesn't work in the States, and it doesn't work here. But you know, they need to fix the roads. They've got to get your trench system back in.
But speed bumps is something I hate.
Yeah.
I absolutely hate. I don't know what's the difference between why a speed bump would be more efficient than a four-way stop.
Well, so that's the other thing, is putting stop signs up.
Yes.
Putting actual things that will help the flow of traffic, you know? Even if you put a traffic cop there to move traffic along. You know, we talked about the bridge with your roads, with the lanes, 3 lanes coming, going, and something.
And he was
change.
talking about the Diamond Bridge because it's an issue. That was done on the PVP, but it got to be corrected.
Yeah.
It has to be. You have 2 pretty decent roads. One has to go east, the other one go west.
Yeah.
Right? With proper bridges across in order to ease that little bottleneck at the Diamond Junction. So we were at Diamond, and it was tonight, right? Tonight.
That one was the other one too.
Yeah.
And that can be solved just by redistributing the flow of traffic, making those 2 roads one-ways instead of two
And
two
then you may
ways.
have to put some connecting bridges a bit closer.
Yeah.
Because
But it's little things, so that won't take too much. That's some people coming out to take a look at what's going on and saying, "Oh well, traffic doesn't work here," you know. Make some changes. It's just things that I don't know if people take it for granted or what, but it's very fixable things. Everything that we talk about is fixable, right? There's no mountain to climb with all these things. It's little things, and if people start pushing government to get these things done, there's 2 things that happen. Either you ignore the people, and the people get ticked off, and they get voted out, or they make the changes and improve people's lives.
I do a little bit of political engineering. I used to want to be an engineer, but I have a year at it. And I remember in our first set of classes, they try to drill into you whatever the mind can conceive, the engineer can achieve, right?
Yeah.
But let's come back. No confidence motion. A year and 6 days later, I know you had some strong views on.
Yeah, what's your constitution say? Wasn't this supposed to be done, last March, I think it was? All right, so what happened? The government basically went to court and got that overturned, and then kept going through the judicial system, right? All right, and then when was the ICC?
June the 18th.
June the 18th. June the 18th, July, August, September. So this should happen in September. And our going joke was from the time no confidence happened.
Let's take this call.
Yeah.
Hi, good evening. You're on the air. Hold no bars. Go ahead. You're on the air. Okay, they want to hear you.
Yeah.
So, yes, no confidence motion.
Yeah, so in the time from no confidence in December last year to now, I joked around to you how many Commonwealth countries and even the motherland or home, England or the UK, how many elections have happened? Canada's called elections, England's called, UK's called elections, Israel's called 3 elections.
3 elections?
3.
Wow.
Yeah. And you can't even get 1 done here. That's kind of sad. That's an indictment on ruling your party in power and the levers of your government for elections there.
The other one that you made mention, and I found that interesting. You said to me one evening, has anyone called out David Arthur Granger, and if he loses the election, would he give up power?
Yeah, it's something that should be. Listen,
Excuse me.
we've got a going joke which some people are scared of, that if our president, my president, because Donald Trump, he loses his election, is he going to leave? The new president will be sworn in, and he either gets to walk out of the White House or get dragged out of the White House by Secret Service. But that's institutions. That's institutions have been around that people follow. He's really the first one who's been bucking the trend in negative ways, mostly, in my opinion. And that's what you kind of hope, that he catches the senses. Now, here it's being of decorum, you can say. If this government loses, they have to be able to gracefully tell their people, you know what, we lost, and bow out and be the opposition or whatever they're going to be, and for the service of the people of the country, not for them, for the country, they should, whatever happens,
But you're quite strong, because you've asked me, why haven't someone at one of the press interviews, because I don't think he gives press conferences.
Okay.
Right? One of his interviews, why hasn't any journalist called him out on, are you going to leave? It's an easy answer for any
It is an
Democrat.
easy answer, and if somebody's gonna, there's an easy answer for that. It's yes. You know what? Whatever happens, if the people speak, then we will abide by what the people say, and that's it. If you lose, just ramp up for 5 years or however long it's going to be until the next election. You owe it to your people to do that.
When you say people, you got
The
my people
Guyanese
being
people, the citizens of Guyana.
Exactly.
That's who they're serving. This is the thing that people have to realize, is that governments serve the people, right? No matter what it is, they all supposed to serve the people. When they don't serve the people anymore, you've got dictatorships, right? You've got something that's not a democracy. So if you want a democracy, you have a democracy, you got to fight for this. When I talked to people in 2011 when I was here, and they talked about, this government, they're all corrupt, they would never leave, this, that. So then you've got to go and fight for what you believe in, and not physically fight. You need to go and make yourself heard, be represented. If your representative is not representing you properly, you need to make a stink about it and get them either replaced or get them to move on what they've got to do. They're not there to sit there and just collect or sit around and joke around with their buddies and have drinks at the bar or whatever. Yeah, you know what? You want to go to a bar, hang out, and have a drink, but you might as well listen to your people who are there too.
Great. Just reading one person, this is Kitty. I think your dad grew up in Kitty.
Yes.
I was born in Kitty. Good evening. There is a major issues. Hi, good evening. You're on the air.
Good evening.
Go ahead. You have the air.
Don't feel no way. That man next to you, he would be in his
He what? Okay.
Oh, couldn't hear him. All right.
Yeah. Okay, this one here, Owen Street. First, the road is in a terrible state. No street lights, no drainage, no garbage disposal, derelict vehicles all over. Cow pens, Owen Street. Good. Okay.
So where is that?
Owen Street is in Kitty. Google it. You'll find it. But coming back to the, so you are very strong, and somebody should call out David Arthur Granger. But the Constitution.
Well, it's not only so it's not just Granger, right? I guess I don't know how it works in terms of.
Well, how it works here is this: once the chairman of GCOM declares the election results, and the incumbent loses, the chairman of the Elections Commission would swear in the presidential candidate of the
Of
list,
the winning party.
right? And
Yep.
that person becomes the president immediately,
Yes.
right? So anybody who is pretending and want to hold on,
Mm-hmm.
right, they will have to plunge the country into civil war, right?
Yeah.
But the person who got sworn in as a result of an election is the legitimate president,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that is quite clear in the Constitution.
Okay.
And the president is the commanding chief
Mm-hmm.
of the forces,
Yes.
right? And so you mentioned it, the institutions got to work.
Mm-hmm.
The institutions
Yes.
have to work, right?
It's not based on person, it's based on institution.
So that was one of the strong points you made, and I thought it was interesting because it might sound like a question which has an easy answer, and it has, but it's part of a reality that could face us.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the seriousness of it. It's part of a reality that could face us. I want to believe that the caller who called wanted to say something obnoxious.
Well, I'd like
Maybe
to hear,
he's calling, or
I'd like
she's
to hear
calling
what they
back.
had to say.
Hi, good evening. You're on the air. Hold no
Hi,
bars.
good evening, Mr. Nadir.
Go ahead, boss.
I got to call you back on the other phone. I hear that my feedback on this phone, mine.
You have feedback?
Yeah, I got to get the other
Okay, let me just push it down a little bit. You got it now?
Still getting it. It's
Oh.
like writer story. I call out the other phone.
Gotcha. Okay, getting a feedback. If he is getting a feedback, then I think it might be his volume too, right?
Yeah, I was about to say, people gotta turn down their volume when they
Well, that's
call
why
in.
this. I know I don't have the best handwriting in the world. Hi, good evening. You're on the air. Hello, hello, hello. Good evening. You're on the air.
Yeah. Good night.
Good evening.
Mr. Prasad, I
Yeah.
don't think you quite understand how our government mechanism is set up.
Mm-hmm.
You see, like when he says our representatives need to step up to the plate and so on and serve people,
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't work in Guyana.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, whatever the president wants,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the reality. You were a minister, you were in the system for a lot of years.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, what the president wants is what everybody in his party who are MPs has to follow their leadership. Very few people would have been like the Karen Nash, who stepped out and create what, will set the tone for future, I hope.
Mm-hmm.
But unless we get constitutional reform where representatives are voted from their areas
Mm-hmm.
independently,
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to have those independents coming from individual MPs.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the things that needs to be fixed.
So
And it
that's
hasn't been fixed in 50-something years because nobody really wants to change it because that works for
Yeah, it doesn't
whoever
work for
is
some
in
power.
the presidency.
Yeah. No, he's
That
right,
actually
because
works.
we actually talked about this, about how, and I asked how representation was brought out here, and you explained to me what it was based on party lists and stuff like that, and what happened in last year was one person stepping out, which was a good thing because, his area, whatever, wasn't being served, his people were suffering, and he couldn't take it anymore. I mean, if that's what was
And the
his whole
second
thing.
thing is that sometimes the party in power takes their supporters for granted. And you've seen this as a disease that the PPP suffered from, where they take, for example, Region 3. They took that as, okay, 70% of the people there voted for us. We don't have to worry. We can get the raised votes. Same thing in Essequibo. If you have a kid, unfortunately, no member of parliament or a minister would ever use public transportation in Guyana. Unlike even if you take Bloomberg, when he was mayor, he used the train, the subway, to get to work, City Hall, somewhere in Manchester. And you would never find a minister in this country doing that. Even opposition members, they don't, they're just going to be some big boys driving around town and so on. all the cops would know who they are, and they go on. I mean, they inherit this kind of respect or, free-handedness from the security forces. So they don't have a problem. But if you look at the ferry, I use that ferry from West Coast to go to Georgetown, when I was in high school. And it's a disgrace that we have to put subject little children who are in Form 1, 11, 12-year-olds, go into what we call fishing boats, speedboats, whatever they call it, over there. For fancy term, they call it water taxis. They are very far from that. And if the rain is falling, you see reality check right there. It's telling that they're falling apart. Unless the steps that you will have to use to get off the boat, unless they fall off, they don't fix them. And, so
walk till it broke.
Again, I'm sorry?
Walk till it broke.
Exactly. And that's from the previous government to this one.
Yeah.
And if you take, for example, street lighting, when the PPP were in power, they put street lighting from parts of the forest down to, like the Tucson or somewhere around there. And, they forgot people like, for example, in the forest and Rumtech are their supporters. The very dark stretch from Crane going on to Rumtech never got light. This government put it in. What was funny is that they didn't bridge the gap. They know that the forest is a stronghold of the PPP. And I believe it was intentionally being left out in the forest, that they didn't have street lights. It's only when we were going to elections, like about 2 months ago, that they installed lights between Rumtech and Winter Forest, that area. And again, they're serving just to buy votes, to correct mistakes they would have made. And to be all honest, since the no confidence motion was passed, that is what the government was basically trying to do, is to show that they care about the other side of the thing, to get back some of those voters. Because if Indian people didn't vote for the coalition government, they wouldn't have been in office. Based on the race politics of this country. And that was solely because the PPP ignored certain, groupings of their own supporters. The sugar industry, all they saw in it was it's a voting bloc. They didn't really care that it's, it's a certain amount disasters at the management level.
Okay, let's come back to the issue of constituencies, right? Because in our Westminster system with strong party lines, constituencies don't make much of a difference. And just look what happened in England 2 weeks ago, right? A lot of the MPs from the Tory side, the Conservatives, who were against early Brexit, they lost. They lost, right? So it's a double-edged sword. I like the German system where there's a combination of direct elections to very representative along with proportional representation. So you get the best of both worlds. But thanks for your comments, right?
We could fix our problems. We don't have to follow what someone else created.
No, we're following principles.
We could create what we think will serve us. And we need independent minds to do that. We can create our own system. There's nothing wrong. We don't even have 1 million people, but we have 1 billion problems.
Thank you, man. Let's give another person a chance. Thanks. Okay, sorry to cut you off, but time is running down. I think we just have about 9 minutes remaining on the program. And tonight we're sharing the view of a young Guyanese looking in. A tremendous amount of talent is in our diaspora. Hi, good evening. You're on the air.
Hi, it's me, Mr. Nadir.
Hey, good man.
Tonight?
Gotcha.
That guy is a good friend.
Which one?
This guy is a good friend. I could see that.
This one here? He's better than that. I'll tell you later.
I ain't getting what really he projecting. Is he for this government? Is he for the PPP, or is he just non-partisan person presenting his own some proposal?
I think
Huh?
my whole thing would be whoever would serve your people better, I'd be for.
Okay.
You know, if this government would serve your people better, great. I haven't seen it yet. And I don't know what the other one will do. If they're going to be like they were before, then, you know what?
But hear me.
Sure.
We have to understand, this country, we have politicians. This government, we went to the CCJ, which is the highest court of the Caribbean.
Yeah.
And they didn't adhere to the decision of that court. How is it you're going to deal with people or politicians who are not adhering to the highest courts? How are you going to get them to comply and to be in adherence to the laws? If they are not following these courts, what mechanism do you have to make them comply with these courts' decisions? All right, and let me ask one more thing, and then I'm going to cut off. We have a GCOM, which is the institution for administrating the elections, and the GCOM is blatantly being biased and in support of one political party. How is it would you address a situation like that where there is a GCOM electoral body that is blatantly one-sided and is only favoring?
But let's save him that, because okay, let's save him that part, but let him deal with the first part.
Yeah, but you gotta understand these things before we go further. You understand me? You must be au fait with the culture that this country has. It's not like where he come from. We have people that disrespect the highest courts.
Well, this is,
disrespect the Constitution.
and I think,
you would to deal with those sorts of scenarios.
Yeah, they've partially done that, right? So you took them off.
Yeah.
So, from what I saw in the case, right? The CCJ didn't really set a date, or they didn't put anything in place that the government had to follow in terms of hard dates and
let's
things
take
that they
this
had
one
to
because
do.
we didn't take a lot of calls. Hi, good evening. You're on the air.
Good evening. This is Joshua.
Oh,
Laura's.
hello.
Hello.
Okay.
We're calling during the aisle.
Okay. But lower your TV a bit. Good. Go ahead. Woo! TV too loud. TV too loud. Sorry, caller. TV is too loud. Okay, we just have about 5 minutes remaining on the program this evening, right? And let's get some of your comments, right? Again, we have a few. We didn't take a lot of calls because I think it's important that you we hear from people like you. I'll tell you why. Hi, good evening.
Yeah, good evening. It's Joshua. Sorry about that. The aisle, the word, the people I'm talking about, aisle. Right? But this aisle, if everybody consider the aisle, we are right about how we doing down sea levels, right? And the aisle draw, what gonna happen to the country? We can't talk about money gets done, right? But the government have a study, the got all live in the mountain when the aisle start draw. So we can't talk about money, we can't talk about the country.
Good.
You see America when they draw the aisle, what happened? The docking.
I'm not too sure, right? But thanks a lot.
Docking when they draw the aisle from.
Okay. So I think people have been drawing oil a lot, but I don't think we've seen the land sinking. But yes, coming back to, I was saying, your views. Look, we have as many persons who are Guyanese directly born in Guyana and first generation overseas, who we consider as many of them outside as inside.
Yeah.
Right? I think maybe Afghanistan might be the other country that is close to us, right?
You're really not going that low down there?
No, seriously.
All right.
Yeah, seriously. So, and the diaspora is replete with skills and talents, and it's going to be an important source of, an important resource for us reconstructing
quick thing about that.
Guyanese society.
You have a lot of people abroad, highly skilled people abroad. and people who got skills who took off the second they could. I know a lot of them would want to come back. Their concern is security, corruption, and all that stuff. One of the big things was in '94, mid '90s. I can't remember the exact year, but when government turned over, a lot of people did come back, right? Because they wanted to help the country get it back on its feet and everything else like that. And they had a percentage of them that went back to the States or Canada very disappointed.
Interruption one more time. Hi, good evening. You're on the air.
Good evening, Mr. Dan.
Good evening.
We got a good real net money now. Every month they send you a ticket, a water bill for $2,000. When you go into them, they say you have to pay it. And they cut out the water, you got to pay for put it down back. The meter stick is not a problem, so it's no problem. The meter is about 450, it's a concrete store, it's a little round hole, and the man can read the meter every month. Now, they cut it out the money and the woman kept playing. You have to pay down, you know, cut it down, you have to pay for put it down back. So they're not bullying you.
Bullies. Okay. Okay, thanks. Richard Van West Charles, former minister, stopped bullying the people for water bill. In fact, the one institution I know, the water bill has shot up from $17,000 over the past 4 months to 50-something thousand. I want to be taking up with him. Yes, go back, Diaspora. I will interrupt you again. That's going to be the final caller for tonight.
That's kind of disturbing that the water bill went up that much. But
Yes.
Yeah, so 90s.
In the rainy season too.
Yeah. Got to put a bucket outside then if that's the way the bills are
But
going.
you're still getting the water bill.
Well, something's wrong there, and something's
So we're talking about
out.
Diaspora
I
and
guess
as
them
a
and GPL
valuable
was the big
resource.
ones, huh? Yeah. Yeah, so, well, what happened is, so in the
People
90s, people
yes.
came, tried to help. I think a lot of them went back disillusioned because they got kind of put by the wayside. And one of the big things that I heard was, oh, well, you guys haven't been here, you don't understand how things work here. And I think that's the biggest crock of, you know what, I've ever heard. Because that means that the good old boys want to keep it the way it is, and they don't want change, which is a bad thing. And those guys are the ones who say, oh, you don't understand how things are working here, and those are the ones who need to take a hike and bring in some people who can actually get things done. And that's basically it. It's just getting things done. However you got to get it done.
Fast approaching program time. Here is when I ask that you take the next minute and see what would you like to see for a Guyana? Would a person like you come to live in a Guyana, or just wish that things will get better for the people?
No, I hope things get better for people. I wouldn't come back now. I think there's a lot that needs to be changed. I say I wouldn't come back now. It's just what I'm used to in terms of, I know it's gonna sound bad, it's running water, good power, good roads, security, right? I don't have to worry about these things where I am, right? So I can come back here and deal with all that, which I don't want to. If things improved, then yeah, I think, and not just me, but a lot of people would want to come back. But a lot of things would have to change.
Great. Any New Year's wish for Guyana?
Hopefully your government starts working for you. The oil money actually shows up and is put to good use. I guess it's a big wish. And things hopefully get on the right track.
Great. We want to say thanks to Sridat for joining us this evening on Hold No Bars. I think he didn't hold back at all. No Bars Hold was his...
Wasn't that the name of the show?
I turned it wrong.
Yeah, okay.
Not to hold back. But yes, we had Sridat this evening and spoke his mind. We have a lot of things to fix. Look, my generation, I'm so near the other side. It's people like you who have to make the big change in Guyana, whether you live inside or outside. And there is a lot of sympathy for Guyana moving with outside of oil, people always wish we can do things better, have a democracy, and have a society where all feel safe and enjoy the little bit of leisure that we should enjoy. So Shirat and I want to wish every single one of you a very happy 2020 and trust that those who are elected in 2020 will make you even happier. So from all of us, thanks for watching, and you all have a very great night. Thank you.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.